scared me. Good evening and welcome to General Council for January 27th, 2026. Let's go to number 1, attendance roll call. Go ahead.
Scano Amos Key Jr. The High Homas Nikoskiasa.
Terry Bunbury.
Ellen Miller.
Dale Bunbury.
Melba Thomas.
Elena Venevri.
Go ahead online.
Greg Fraser, present.
Dean.
Melissa Cranny.
No, this is for attendance. Hang on. Go ahead. Sorry. Dean, go ahead. If you're talking, I can't hear you, Dean.
Dean Hill, present.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hazel Johnson.
And also Audrey is unable to make it tonight. So let's go to number 2, identification of media. I don't see any. Let's go to number 3. Let's take a moment of silence to remember those that we have recently lost. Let's take a moment. Okay, thank you. Let's go to number 4. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, go ahead.
The well-being report, we just met on Friday, so I don't have it ready. So I'll table it till February 10th.
February 10th? Okay,
Yes.
so we'll cross out the well-being.
Yeah.
Number 3, 11-3.
And there's nothing on here, right, Deb, for well-being from that committee, right? Okay. So we'll table it till February 10th.
Okay, thanks for that. With that change, can I have a mover for the agenda? Moved by Elena, second by Amos. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 5, adoption of the general council minutes for January 13th, 2026. Is there a mover? Moved by Helen, seconder. Second by Hazel. Any questions or comments? See none, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 6, delegations. And the first delegation is Jeffrey Selman and Ferguson Pancham from HDR Consulting. Are you here? Oh, yeah, I can see you. Welcome. Welcome to.
Yes, thank you very much. You bear with me for 1 second. My colleague Samaya, I believe, is having trouble joining, but I see her now there. Maybe if you'd indulge us, we'd like to just do a quick introduction. So my name's Jeff Salmon. I'm a senior design architect with HDR, Henningsen, Durham, Richardson. We're the architecture firm partnered with Two Row Architect located on Six Nations of the Grand River. And just pass it over to my colleague Samaya to introduce herself as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samaya Musazadeh. I'm joining the meeting from Toronto. I'm the design principal and project architect with HDR. I'm going to pass it over to Hannah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Willis-Lund. I'm an intern architect at Tour Architect. Our principal is Brian Porter, and he should be in the audience there as well. Thanks for having us.
Yes, he is. Brian's here. He's waving.
Great.
He's here.
Samaya, are you going to share your screen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just give me a second.
Okay, so we have a half hour, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So first I wanted to Thank you for the opportunity to have this important meeting today. We would like to acknowledge our shared responsibility for the stewardship of the land that this project is located on the territory of Six Nations of Grand River. We would also like to mention our commitment to continue learning about your culture and working with you on this project in allyship. I know one thing that might be on the forefront and front of your mind is the schedule for this project. As you may know, this project started a little bit before when the flood happened and got impacted a little bit by that situation. But that was when we started the pre-design for this project and engaging with the stakeholders. There was a talking circle that happened at the time to capture the principal drivers of the project. Also, at the same time, a planner was engaged and working with the users in developing the programming for the project. In a minute, we will talk about both the principal drivers and sort of high-level summary of the program. Now we are in the schematic design for the project where we start to have basic layouts and sort of developing the ideas around the site and how the land will need to be developed. As part of this phase, we developed two options, and we had the opportunity on January 8th to present these two options to the residents at their temporary facility, to the staff, but also to the POAs in separate meetings. All happened during that day, which will give you a high-level summary of that. And now we have a selected option based on the consultation on January 8th. After sort of that endorsement of the selected option, in the next months or so, we will be engaged with the users to develop more details around that selected option, which will conclude our schematic design. At the end of each design phase, we will do a cost estimate and review it with the project leadership, and also a presentation at the council when it needs to happen before moving on to the next phase. After schematic design, we will do a design development phase where we dig deeper and also start to engage the consultants around designing the mechanical system, the electrical system, the civil and the structural design around the project, and how it all comes together. After that phase, we will move on to the final design phase, the construction documentation, where we develop basically the blueprints for the building and designing all the details, which will be used to tender the project with the contractor. And after that, the construction starts. And this process for us, from where we are to the end of design, it takes about a year. Hannah, could you please just walk us through some of the findings of the talking circle, please?
Great, yeah. So what we try and do with any project, no matter how big or small, is to run these talking circles where we get people to talk about their visions, their dreams for the project, what they want to see from it. And we try and write down everything they say. And then we collect them, all their notes, and pull out what we call principal drivers from these. So in this case, what we did was we gathered the staff from the home about a year and a half ago now. And for this session, we broke them into 3 groups, and we asked them a series of questions. And they were grouped into main ideas of home, place, and present. And then we collected all the notes from all these, everything anyone said. And we pulled out these main ideas. So go ahead, Samaya. And these are the principal drivers that we took to inform the project. And what we want to do with these is always ground our project in these. And anytime we're making a design decision, or we have a question, we always return to this document. And those being Six Nations culture and community, increasing programming in the space, allowing for privacy and space separation, as much as possible, supporting independence and health of residents and staff, of course, providing sacred space, using Mother Earth's gifts, creating that connection with the natural world, creating a sense of home, and making sure there's plenty of space for family. So although these ideas and this came from the consultation with the staff, we did present these to the residents at the temporary home, as well as the POAs that were in attendance at our presentation. We didn't receive any arguments or amendments to any of these, so we're still working with them, and we were very happy to circulate them as well. Thanks, Maya.
Thank you, Hannah. As Hannah mentioned, this is a very important document and reference point for us. So you see throughout the presentation today and perhaps future presentation, we always reference back to how these ideas and consultation is informing our design. So just a quick summary on January 8th. As I mentioned, we had the opportunity to go to the temporary home. Our meeting there started with the residents, actually. So that meeting took for about a couple of hours. I just want to take a moment to say that people who we met were the most brightest and most lively group of elders that I've ever seen, based on our experience. It was a very good meeting. They were highly engaged and provided a lot of feedback. They asked a lot of questions, and we learned a lot from just talking to them. And after that meeting, so in that first meeting, we presented the two options to the residents and walked them through how each of these options would impact their experience in the home. And actually, the fact that it's their daily lives, it was easy for them to connect and relate to the ideas that we were presenting. So they were some of the details questions that they asked surprised me how much sort of they could relate to these. And I almost unanimously, they selected one of the options that we will present in the next few minutes. After that meeting, we had a couple of hours, so it was really helpful for Jeff, Hannah, and myself that we were there and we could walk around, talk to some of the staff that they cannot always be at our meetings, also see some of the operations, and we took note of all of that. And actually, a couple of conversations and feedback that we received just from those casual conversations. We are now implementing in the design and progress of the meeting. In the evening, there was a POA meeting. We did not have a big attendance of the POAs, but the POAs who attended the meeting, actually, again, similar to the residents meeting, they were highly engaged. That meeting also went over 2 hours. They also brought a lot of insights about their loved ones, and they experience also some of the things that they've seen in the couple of temporary homes that didn't work, and they also shared what works for them. We took note of all of that. And they also unanimously selected the option that the residents had endorsed earlier. So that kind of, we ended that day with concluding that we have a selected options. Also, one of the things that they brought up and was important for them was that they emphasized how both the staff and residents are important, in terms of feedback and input as we go throughout the project. So they wanted to emphasize that staff are comfortable operating the future facility and residents obviously enjoy living in it. So with that, I guess we're going to move to the next slide. So before presenting the selected option, I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program of your facility. So the new facility is about 60,000 square feet. As I mentioned, a planner was involved to evaluate the current operation and spaces of the home, and also sort of a future projection in terms of growth and future needs. So that all is listed in the program, which is about 60,000 square feet. Just the main categories under this program includes the residence rooms and some support and common space associated with the residence rooms. There are some admin and educational spaces. There are building support spaces like the mechanical room and the loading area, the kitchen and those kind of spaces. Also, there is a new program that you may have not seen in your previous home is a community program, which involves some spaces that could be used when the family and other community members come to the home. Also, from what we learned from the staff, they would use it to bring all their residents together for daily activities. But what might be interesting is that almost 70% of the area will be dedicated to the residence room and their immediate support spaces associated with that, which we call residential home area. That includes the dedicated dining room, for example, and some other daily activities associated with the residence room. So the two options that we presented to the POA's staff and the residents were around two different ways of arranging the residential home area, which will have a big impact in how they experience the space and what kind of daily habits they will have. Jeff, could you please just explain the options?
Yeah, sure, Samaya. Thank you. So I guess at a high level, what we wanted to articulate with this slide is to say that effectively, when we presented the two options were comparable in terms of the number of beds, the amount of common space, administration area, community, and etc. It's effectively just laid out differently between the two options. So as Samaya mentioned, during the presentation, we received feedback on both of these options and the merits of both, honestly. And what we heard kind of loud and clear from the residents, the POA, and it kind of reinforced some of what we were hearing from the staff as well, is that the preferred option was this courtyard layout, which benefits the residents, because what we're doing is we're creating kind of smaller social groupings that it helps residents with maybe overwhelm. It can help reduce kind of the expression of behaviors at times, and so that's supported by some best practices in long-term care research. And not only that, I think it benefits the residents just in the way that the building lays out. If you want to advance to the next slide, Samaya, I think it might be helpful. Where what you can see here on the right-hand side is we were kind of configuring these 8-bed blocks, so to speak, around a small courtyard. And so I think the scale of these courtyards is one that it allows residents to kind of have more of that home-like feel. And you'll see in a moment here as well, just the opportunity that this creates to have a strong connection to nature through these courtyards and reinforce both kind of opportunities for independence, but also nice line of sight for staff. And not only that, I think that connection to nature is something that is, beneficial for staff as well. So you can see, as I said, that these are, this is kind of how things have come together. So in total, you might all be aware of this already, but I'll maybe just repeat it just in case, is that there'll be a total of 64 beds in this home. And what you can see is each of these kind of these paired 8-bed blocks come together to create a small courtyard. And so 2 of those combined become kind of one 32-bed resident home area. And then obviously kind of the way we're working the layout with this is also kind of trying to reinforce the connection of those spaces to that administration and education area, the community, and also a proximity to the building support and utility services. Next slide. And so, yeah, again, here you can see kind of how that the diagram from the previous slide shown here on the left translates into an actual more of a floor plan here. And the other benefit to this layout that we thought was positive, but again, we were putting it to the residents, the staff, and the POA, but specifically the residents for their feedback, is how this configures around those smaller courtyards, which are single story in nature. So it provides a great opportunity to get natural daylight in there, and to have glass kind of around that courtyard is quite nice. So it allows the residents, no matter the weather, to walk out the front door of their room and feel like they're in nature, connected to the outdoors. And not only that, again, no matter the weather, they're able to walk around, as you can see by this red arrow, this wandering loop that allows for some residents who just need to move, the flexibility to kind of, move around this loop kind of continually during the day, but also, bordered on that is our dining area. And so we think that this is quite nice. And what we heard from the residents is that this is something that they really like and look forward to as part of kind of their daily rituals. So I guess the last thing I would kind of mention here is that, we're also looking at ways to connect not just to the courtyards, but also, provide those views to nature. This site is located at the off of Sunrise Court, and it's afforded a really nice kind of opportunity to connect visually to nature while providing kind of secure outdoor spaces as well, to provide residents with safety as they go outside. Next slide. So the benefit of this scheme, kind of as I mentioned already, I think I hit maybe most of these topics as I was talking to the last slide, is really the smaller homes, the residential feel, the experiential walkway, and again, that connectivity to the outdoors without actually having to be outdoors. The wandering loops, which are not just wandering loops, they're places for residents to stop and they can stay. They don't have to kind of move around the loop necessarily, but again, we want to make those spaces kind of really nice places to just be. The variety of views and the self-contained safe courtyards. I'll pass it back over to you, Samaya.
Thank you. So many of you are probably familiar with the location of the future home. It's located just east of your community. I don't know if you see my cursor, but the previous home is located just on the northwest corner of the screen, so it's not that far. One of the characteristics of the site that we would like to highlight, and it sort of impacts a little bit how we design the building, is the slope on site. So from the west edge of the site towards east, there is about 5 meter drop or slope, which we need to mitigate, knowing that we are also dealing with like a long-term home care facility that has impact on the site design, definitely. I'm just zooming into the site now. So the overall site area is about 200,000 square feet. And as I mentioned, the building footprint without any articulation, it's laid out on the site here, is about 60,000 square feet. And as you see, it's kind of fill up the site pretty quickly. And I just wanted to show you a view of the site from the road. So if we look back at the site, a single story building would lead into portions of the building to be buried in the slope of the site. So that makes it difficult to build this building in a single story. So to mitigate the slope, we we think the right solution might be a split level. So kind of we developed our initial concept based on the 2-story building. And as Jeff mentioned, the site is located in the area that has also access to these natural views that can elevate the experience of the residents at the home. So we are taking that into consideration. Also, you heard from Hannah, this was a main part of the principal driver, this connection with the natural world and how these views and getting natural light will impact the daily rhythm and routine of the residents. The opportunity to eat outside and have outdoor gatherings and good season has been emphasized. Attracting animals and birds to the site has been mentioned a few times. Gardening for residents has been something that everyone before expressed as something that they would like to see if possible, and medicinal plants. Again, we are considering all of these in the way that we are developing the site, especially the idea of courtyards provides the opportunity to have safe space for the residents to just walk out and be able to do some of these things on their own. The other using Mother Earth's natural gifts also was part of the principal drivers. I know, again, the previous home was impacted by a flood, and now we are on a slope site. We would like to turn this into a positive thing and deal with the water as a feature on site for passive stormwater management, but also it can be a feature that residents can enjoy and attract animals. Food sovereignty, being able to grow food on site also is something that came up, and I'll show you the early site development. So that reflects some of these ideas. All of these we turn it into a outdoor program. So before we talked about the indoor program, but we also, based on these feedback, developed the outdoor program that is informing the site development. So just going back to the site, the line that is highlighted here is one of the major topography line on the site. One of the things that we want to do is to manipulate the topography a little bit to make sure that the center of the site is basically stays dry, and the water in form of ponds and just rain gardens go around it. So this area will be sort of the appropriate area, also close to the access road on the south for future building. And this is kind of just a quick sketch of how site may develop. Again, building is in the middle, the road and access to the building, parking are on the south side, and both on the east and west, we have opportunities to create those medicinal garden and community gardens. And on the north side, we are planning to have a gathering space for families and residents and for good seasons. And again, just to show you how this selected option may look on the site, the image on the top shows one of the residential home areas, the 32 beds. Basically, the way we are dealing with it, you see on the south image. Maybe I zoom in one. Two of those, and those are the majority of the home area. And the space in the middle includes the administration spaces, the community spaces, and some of the support spaces that we talk about. So I'm just cautious of the time. I'm just gonna move to the last slide to tell you a little bit about the feedback that we received and sort of our future milestones. So one of the things that was shared with some of the staff when they saw the selected option is they asked us to look into the possibility of going with a single story scheme. So that would occupy more of the site than what we have shown, but this is something that we took away, and this comes from their experience of being in the temporary home with a couple of elevators and the issues they had. And one of the main issues was the ability to be able to bring all the residents together effectively. And we understand that's something that the residents also like to see. So that is one of the first things that we're looking at. In terms of design, as I mentioned, the next months or so we will be focused in developing the layouts and also pushing the site plan, especially if we can accommodate the single story building. We are engaged with the staff in forms of user group meetings on a bi-weekly basis now, so that we get their feedback on developing the layouts. And then I guess in mid-March, we would be able to move into doing a cost estimate for the building and finalize the schematic design. Thanks so much. I'll give it back to the council chambers.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I was just going to ask Deborah Jonathan, who's acting the CEO right now. So, Deborah, did you have anything to add?
I just want to thank you, first of all, to our HDR partners for the presentation. It's nice to see that we've reached this point now where we actually have a design that we've presented, or designs, I should say, to our residents for choosing what their future home looks like. There's still a long way to go, and we are committed to continuing on this path of expediting the new build. I don't know if anybody has any questions, either online. I know we have our Iroquois Lodge staff online, or from the gallery.
Is there any questions? Go ahead, Helen, and then Dale.
I have several questions, actually. So I guess I'm assuming there was two options presented to people as to which one they wanted. I'm I'm questioning why council wasn't presented with the two options so we'd know what was going on. this next one, when I look at that picture, I see 8 different buildings. And to me, I'm wondering how much it's gonna cost for the hydro. How much is it gonna cost for the gas with 8 different buildings? And also, that's a lot of walking for staff to go walking through all these 8 different buildings. That would be a lot of walking for the staff who are going to be looking after our elderlies. You know, I'm just worried some staff might say, I ain't gonna walk that far. I don't know if they'll say that, but they might. I'm not gonna walk that far. That's long ways to walk every day. I don't find it feasible from what since I've been sitting here for 22 years. Anything, I don't find it feasible. I think it's gonna be costly to operate, to run. Um, I'm sure the residents, they love it. I guess I don't know we don't know what the residents had to say because I don't know why they chose this one over the other one because we haven't seen the other one to see what that looks like. Um, I don't know how many residents the new building is going to service. I think that's important, how many residents it's going to service compared to what we have now. I mean, anything's better than what we have now, but we have to think in the long term, and I'll use the White Pines as an example. When they started bringing up all the designs for the White Pines, I told council and I sat on the building committee and I told them it's going to be too costly with that big hole in the middle. It's going to cost a lot of money for heat. It's just taking up space. And of course, nobody listened to me. But now we're hollering because we need that space. We want to fill that space in now because we don't have enough space. So that's my concern. It's I can't even sit here and say it's a nice building, but I'm thinking of the future, what it's going to cost to run it when it's like that, where the buildings are all separated. And I know I'm glad to see a lot of the green space. I'm sure the residents like the green space. I think that's really nice. But I'm just thinking down the road of the operations and how staff are going to work around it and different things like that. So I'm a little disappointed that council wasn't presented with both of the options. I think we should have been, but those are my comments.
Okay, as mentioned, there are 64 beds that they stated. And go ahead, Deborah.
So it is a 64-bed facility, so we are increasing the square footage of the building. They are not 8 separate units, it's one connected building. What you're seeing is just the way it's laid out. The residents chose a smaller type setting for each wing. Those wings are connected. This was also presented to the staff, and this was also a choice by the staff that they would prefer this plan over the other one. I believe, I'm not sure, Jeffrey, if we have the other plan to show. I believe it's important to put this decision to the people that will be living there. That's why we chose to do the focus groups the way we've done, to the residents first, because ultimately this is their home. And as always, with an increase in beds, the increase in square footage, we are naturally going to see increase in the cost to run it. And we would expect that to happen with a larger build.
Go ahead, Dale.
Couple questions. One was, again, just in regards to the layout design, and my thought goes to, I guess, the staff there in relation to, so I don't know if there's little mini stations per wing, or is it one central and they have to venture out to each wing? That now, I don't know how ease, or if there's a proximity where the, the staff who are on duty have to be within proximity of each wing. So that was one of my questions, just that layout and where the nurses or their PSWs are all gonna be stationed to be able you know, one's over here and then they got to run way over there and then come back here. Just the layout and that. The other question I got is in regards to, and then that might be premature, and this question is in relation to all the civil engineering stuff, the wastewater and water, because I know we're just looking at increasing the water for the social services, and this building is going to be down for this. So I don't know if all of these things were taken into consideration for layout, and with the close proximity to the lagoons, I don't know if there was a thought of going the other way to the lagoons, feeding right to the lagoons in regards to a pumping station, going that route, just instead of pumping it all the way back around and then back up. So those are just some thoughts and questions I had just in regards to where it's situated and in the layout of the geography there.
Yeah.
Deborah.
Jeffrey, I'm not sure if you can bring up the kind of the aerial view of the site. But in terms of the staff access to residents, my understanding is they are central to the wings. So they are in the middle of those wings. Derek Hill, who is our built environment director, has been involved and continues to be involved in all of our planning meetings. So all of the infrastructure pieces he is well aware of and is participating with HDR in helping to develop that along the way as well.
Go ahead, Elena.
Yeah, my concerns are sort of like Dale's. It's no secret to Derek that I've had concerns about the location of the lodge from the time that we started to hear about it in this term. I'm wondering if you've calculated what the distance is to the lagoons, and then I have some follow-up questions based on that. I don't know who can answer that question.
I can share the screen to bring up the area image.
Yep. Go ahead, Derek.
Unfortunately, the servicing component of the project was not part of HDR's original contract. So we are developing in terms of reference to have that work completed now. And it will look at two options for servicing, going east, one going west around Chiefswood and back to the lagoons, or if there's another route we can take. Unfortunately, as you can see from the diagram, there is a forested area. The road that has been planned for that area is not currently installed. So that would have to be installed or should be installed, which would allow some of the servicing to go towards the lagoons connecting near Public Works. But that will be part of the next phase, and that is now ongoing, and we're looking at those two options for wastewater servicing.
I guess Elena's is how far are they from the lagoons?
I'm not sure of the actual distance, but the pipe itself would follow the roadway, which would go to the east and then down through Public Works and then connect into the lagoon.
That's not what I was getting at, Derek. However, it's a concern of mine that we don't know how far away from the lagoons that this building is going to be. So in the retirement, it's the Retirement Homes Act. Is that what? Long-term care. So I don't think there's a minimum like a range of feet or meters that you need to be from sewage lagoons. However, when you're inspected, because you're in close proximity to them, there are things that would deem it like a high risk. So your inspection is going to already be looking at things from a different lens. So has there been an environmental assessment done to identify what the problems might be if there's a failure in the lagoons, or an air quality assessment done to see whether or not there's like a concentration of air pollutants and things around there? Like, these are all things that could make us non-compliant in the future. So I'm looking at it from that sort of a perspective. And that's always been my concern with where this is.
I don't believe an air quality testing program was completed for the site prior to selecting this site. Also, environmental assessment, I believe, has been completed, but just for the site, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the report to show whether or not there's going to be concerns with air quality. They were looking at the site in terms of its suitability for building.
To me, what I'm hearing is that we're not even ready to say that this is where it's going to go yet. To me, if we're doing all of our due diligence, and to make sure that in the long run we're compliant with everything that we need to be compliant with, I don't know that we can say that this is exactly where it's going to go. That's, I mean, I'm no expert, but if I can pick out some of these questions, so can our community members. And I don't want us to be in a situation 40 years from now, like we're in today, where we have no contingency plans and we should have thought of this 40 years ago. Well, I'm raising a red flag because I don't want us to invest the 60 million or whatever it is that we need to invest into this, and it's for nothing.
I can't answer all your questions at this time. I wasn't involved in the early selection of the site and also the project. However, I can review the files and see where we're at and try to answer some of your questions. I don't have the information in front of me now.
I have several more, so I'll email them to you.
Any other questions or comments? There's a question. Was it presented to Health and Wellbeing Committee? Not sure of their mandate. That was one of the questions. Go ahead, Amos.
It was presented last Friday, but not in this particular format with this amount of information. It was not, just an update was given to us. Yeah.
Hazel, did you have something? I heard. Go ahead, Melba.
Yeah, I like parts of what I've seen and heard tonight, like expanding the experiences for the elderly, and it talked about connection to nature, and I'm not sure. I don't understand if there's going to be enough land there in order for them to actually see the beautiful deer and other animals that may be frequenting the area that's close to them. I like the part of the medicine garden. We're not, what we have at 37 Sunrise, we're not, I guess, actually making use of some of that land that's there. And it's just there. I know at Christmas, for example, they put some decorations up, but it's not connected to other experiences. Um, I see what's happened for years and years, how we're taking the responsibility away from the families in caring for the elderly. I know we have a lot of services and we have a lot of sickness and medical needs that are connected to the elderly. So you have the daycare where you take away the children and they're not in the home with their parents very long at all. You see it when they're getting on the bus. They can barely walk, some of these young children. So I look at I guess the evolution of our caring for our people, one another. We're doing that, but we're doing it in a different way. So, but it causes separation and lack of, I guess, knowledge with one another and our history and how we talk about family matters. Those kind of things are not going to be in place. It seems to be less and less over the years. So I thought I'd mention that. Thanks.
Yep, go ahead, Karen. Can we, so everybody online can hear you? They still can't hear you. You just have to speak in a mic. Or you can just speak at Amos's. It's up to you. Oh, there you go.
I don't know, the green light's on. Okay, all right. Helen, I agree with everything that you said, and I see that it's just only another POA and myself here. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the January 8th presentation. And I agree that we should also be able to see the other option as well. And especially what Elena said about the storm management and what Councillor Bonberry said too, and about the lagoons and things like that, the environmental assessments, the impact assessments and things like that. Those are things that have to be done beforehand, before any decision is made. I mean, these are our people, these are our families, and how can a percentage of people make that decision without everybody else involved, everybody else with their input? It's our families that are in there right now. And like I mentioned before, there's some that aren't even going to be able to see that. I mean, I'll get to see it. I'll probably be in there. And just looking at that thing up there, it looks like a figure 8. And what you said about the walking around, just the staff and everything, what about the people who can walk? But they're going to get tired. Shane may get tired. I'll get tired walking around there, but then at the same time, there's going to be people in there who are immobile and they're not, they're going to have to wheel around and all in that big, long figure 8. And then talking about possibly, was it? Split level, right? We've seen what Delhi had. They had a 2-story, right? And they were all separate, right? But a split level, even that, they're going to be separated. And we talk about family. We want to keep them together. We want to be united together. We want to keep them close by. You got to look at all the impacts, of what the whole building, how this was chosen, how that land was chosen for this over there. And I believe that's the community garden, right? What you're talking about, where it's going to be in that section. Is that where it is? Behind the group home over there?
Over there.
Like
yep.
way back
Way
in
back.
there?
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot of traffic around there. You've got the other seniors buildings there. You've got the youth lodge over there. You've got the second step housing here. It's just like when they go up to Fox Ridge. And the impact that it's going to have there with what they want to do with the Fox Ridge building. I'm still not sold on any of that. And like I said, there's a lot of people even at the lodge who can't even speak for themselves. There's a lot of people at the lodge who don't even have family there to speak on their behalf. So I think that we got to look at everything, the impacts of everything, all these assessments, all these testings and everything like that. You're talking about this slope that's there, and we'll deal with this later. We'll put this in after. That's what happened to the lodge. It's a swampland. And we don't want that to happen over here. And I'm not an expert either, but I've seen a lot of it. We don't want the same thing happening. So I think that everybody should have an input, a say into what happens. And we should be able to see Did you see that other option? Did you have any input? So that's all I've got to say.
Yep, thank you. Go ahead, Deborah.
Can I get Lois to come up? I know you've been involved with this from the beginning to speak to some of the assessments, please.
Can you hear me? All right. So some of those environmental assessments were done earlier, probably before you guys took your term. I come on shortly after, um, as part of just to help with the lodge project. So some of those assessments were um, either in progress or carried out by then. I don't know exactly about the environmental smell piece of it, but most of the environmental pieces with the land and that piece. And we did, it was brought up initially about the lagoons piece of it, where the land actually sits. Um, I have to look back at the report for that, but it was a issue back originally when it first started. It was the lagoons piece of it as well. So I don't know it at the top of my head because a lot of that information is just there, and I have to go back and look for that information as well. But we can get it to you.
Follow up. Go ahead, Elena.
Yeah, if I could, were those assessments shared with this team of people?
I probably would have been before you guys. Come on, yeah.
No, not us.
Oh.
I'm talking about architects and
If I could, if you'll indulge me, if I could chime in here. Yes, we were provided with geotechnical, hydrogeotechnical, and environmental assessments that were prepared for the site. To Derek's comment, I'm not aware of any air quality testing that's been completed or carried out for the site at this time. And so I can't speak to that specifically, but we do have, and we have been shared those other reports for some time now, and that has actually informed our understanding of the site as well. Also, if I could just address the comments just a moment ago with respect to the figure 8 of the layout, those travel distances. Yeah, thank you, Samaya, for putting that back up on the screen. I totally acknowledge what you're saying about how that distance may feel far for some people, and certainly in conversation with the staff of the Iroquois Lodge as well as the residents through that engagement, what we were hearing from them is they felt like that wouldn't be a barrier for the delivery of care or for the resident experience, and in fact, the layout itself, I think, was received positively because it gave both a measure of privacy and independence to residents, and also facilitated, I think, a good environment for staff to work. But I don't want to speak on their behalf. Certainly, I know that there's a couple members from the Iroquois Lodge here who can share their thoughts, of course.
Jeff, maybe a couple other points on the layout that was discussed with the both residents and POA who attended that meeting. So as everyone mentioned, there are certain standards with the long-term care home and the operation, and people who brought up travel distances. It's a very smart question. Actually, calculations are required for the submission to make sure that the operations are not hindered by the layout. So those are all the due diligence that needs to be done, and we are obligated to submit the layouts to the Ministry of Long-Term Care Home at every milestone of the project and get their approval as well. as we move forward. But in terms of the location of the staff, I think in the current temporary facility, you see one station for the staff where they sit, and from there they access. In the new facility, there would be two stations. And for each of these, basically figure eight, as people mentioned, there is one, this central location in the middle is the dining area, also the reception and where the staff will be located. Um, so from there, they actually are in a short distance by breaking the form into these smaller corridors, and they are centrally located. They would be able to faster arrive at each of the rooms if there is any need because of that. Also, there was another fair question, I think, about access to the views and natural environments that is surrounding this site. As you see in this image, all of the rooms actually they have their back where their windows will be. This diagram is very high level, so it's not showing the windows yet. But all of the rooms, they have their own window looking out towards the sort of natural world around them. Animals or other views, they would be able to get daylight in the rooms. What we did with the central corridor is actually in a normal building where you have a corridor in the middle and the rooms on either side. The corridor is just a corridor which takes them from one location, one destination to the other. In this setup, the corridor is part of the social life of the residents as they can like freely move around. Also, as they are walking down this corridor, they have this view and access to the courtyard. And the courtyard may result in the building to seem a little bit larger, but the courtyard is very important for the residents to be able to safely move outside, especially those residents with dementia or other conditions. Actually, their independence was one thing that came up in the conversations we had with them. There were residents that actually were using mobility devices, but in our presence, few hours that we were in the home, they were constantly going up and down the corridors. So even with the mobility devices, the choices of movement and their independence, and having just choice to decide what to do and where to go was really important to them. And that's why I think they relate more to this option, the fact that the corridors are not a dead end and they can continue going around and see different things and encounter different people was something that was conducive to them.
Okay, I have Elena, Amos, and then I have two questions from Facebook. Go ahead, Elena.
Yeah, still those assessments and reports that you were talking about, if you have them, I would like to read them. I'm interested in some of this stuff, but I think it's important to do that air quality assessment, and also for the people that are designing this. I know it's in the stage before, but once you get to design, like have a like our people should have the highest quality of things. So an enhanced HVAC system, for example. Um, I do have a problem though with an outdoor garden right next to the lagoons. So on these slide deck photos, it looks to me like this is no more than 200 meters from sewage lagoons, and so you're talking flies, things like, I don't know if anybody knows about cross contamination, but you're going to have an outdoor food garden. We're going to have an E. coli situation. So these are things that I think need to be contemplated that I haven't heard be addressed. And I would like them to be addressed so that, like Karen says, we're not in trying to answer these questions 40 years from now, or when it's all done. It should be done beforehand. That's what is owed to these people and for this investment. It's a huge investment. Why not do it right and fully and completely the first time?
Go ahead, Amos.
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much. When I look at the design on page 31, I think it's slide 31, I don't see any roadway around the entire building for fire trucks and things like that to go around the building if there was a fire on each side of the property. Like, to me, I'm not a designer either, but I would think just for the safety, I would suggest there'd be hydrants on all four sides, at least. And then the truck should be able to go right around it. And even with the design of it, can I say it's ugly? I think we should open up those courtways so that a truck could get right in there if there was a fire and an emergency, and not have these angles. Let's make it more simple, just for safety of these precious people that are going to be in there. It might be myself one day. Um, I don't. I think it'd be better to have more open space rather than on an angle, just so a truck could get right in there in case of a fire. Was there consideration also? My second question is: was there consideration for what's the term now? Morbidity of our residents, of our seniors. I think was there consideration for those of us who might suffer from dementia and Alzheimer's, because they would have different care. And so, is there going to be wings for each one of those? That kind of morbidity, right? So, like, we can concentrate our care based on that, right? And to care for them that way. So I just want to know whether that was taken into consideration in these design. And I would open up those courtyards and make them straight, and you can make them beautiful even when they're rectangular. But I'm looking at the safety part. I would like to be able to, if a fire was going on and my grandma was in there, I would like it so that a dang truck could get right in between that building and put the fire out. So anyway, that's just my suggestion, and I apologize for saying it's ugly. Thank you.
Um, To answer your question on the assessment for the dementia clients and the ones that need that extra care, it was done. And we do have the summary report from the consultant that did it through HDR as well. So that it was considered when that the plans were, yeah. Well, yeah, to care for them, right? To care for those different types of clients within the lodge.
Go ahead with the Facebook questions, and then I have Greg.
So the first question is there a communal or gathering space for the residents? And the answer to that is yes. There's a few communal spaces that have been designed or we would like to see worked into the design. The second question, I think this is more for Jeffrey. As our population grows, especially with aging generations, is the floor plan capable of expanding?
Thank you for that question. As it stands right now, the design of this is for 64 beds, and the Ministry of Long-Term Care defines that a maximum social grouping of 32 residents at a time, or in a family unit or a resident home area, I should say. So right now it's been designed to have 2 resident home areas, one on either side. It's not, the design is not necessarily conducive to expansion in its current form. Also, I think this came up during the engagement with both the residents and the POAs. Is this notion of how it could expand in the future. It's something that we're open to looking at in more detail, but I think that the one caution I would put forward is that the area of the site itself doesn't actually have enough space to expand on. So it would involve kind of increasing kind of the land area that's available, And if that's an option, that's something that we could potentially consider in the future, but it hasn't been part of our considerations to date.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I had the opportunity to be involved with the West Park Long-Term Care Center, that hospital that was built. We built that during COVID. One of the things, excuse me, one of the things, and I think it will encompass what everyone has been talking about, is once plans are delivered or looked at by the ministry, as you know, they have fairly high standards, higher standards than other residences. So yes, and they will probably have certain requirements and suggestions to the plan if they're not involved already. So whatever site, whatever size, and whatever design that we have, I know the Ministry of Long-Term Care will probably have a look at it, and because it depends, the bill depends on funding. And of course, funding, there are going to be participants in the funding of the building. So, but all good comments that have been made. Thanks, Chief.
Go ahead, Amos, then Cynthia, then Deborah.
Yeah, just one more question to the group here tonight. Is the property going to include a roadway around the whole thing for fire trucks? I'm just looking for the safety of our residents. Will the property have pavement all the way around so that a fire truck could get in there, do you think? Or is it planned?
So we will follow. Sorry. We will follow the building code in terms of life safety. So we will actually will spend a lot of time to make sure that the life safety could be provided, following all the standards, including perhaps this building in our mind will be sprinkler true, and based on the building code and the category of the building, we will provide access to all the sites that need to have access in terms of evacuation strategies that will be implemented. So those details have not baked in. Also, I wanted to emphasize that the form that you see is very basic. The main thing that we wanted to basically get approval with the residents and staff and POAs was the arrangement of just the 32-bed residential home area, because that will inform the design of the whole building. Basically, once that relationship is set, the rest will be figured out. So the detail of the site and where the road goes exactly has not been prepared or thought of fully yet. But it's all possible if we need to have a road all around the site. However, based on the code and what are the strategies around the fire suppression and fire response, we would like, or our thought was to limit the sort of how much asphalt we will put on site and things like that.
Go ahead, Amos. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, it could be gravel. It doesn't have to be pavement. I mean, I'm just trying to get access for our precious seniors that are going to be in there, so that, I know you're going to have a sprinkler system, all of that. That's going to come down, but when the building starts to burn, sprinklers don't help. So that's just what I'm concerned about and trying to be practical. Thank you.
Cynthia?
Uh, I have concern about the capacity. That is, we were at a meeting last week with the Ministry of Health, the Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones, and we were talking about Ganios and looking at plans for its rebuild. And the concern they expressed was that when they build hospitals, it's for not only the current capacity required for the population, but projected. So I know we got 50 beds. Is it 50 beds? No, right now, 50. on the old one, and it's expanding to 52, I believe, right? 64. Yeah, it's some more beds, but our population, we kept all those meetings going to telling them how our population is growing at a rapid rate, more so than the rest of the folks in Ontario. And I know it depends on funding, but I think we need to set it someplace else. Someplace else, because we heard from this, is it HDR or whoever they are, they're confined, or their limitations are on the land they have. And so it doesn't seem like they could build, what I'm hearing anyways, for expansion based on that current site. And looking at these maps, I don't know, that it seems awfully close to those lagoons. And in between the building and the lagoons, I know it was mentioned because of the slope, a 5 meter slope, which is considerable. There'll be quite a buildup of the water. So the answer is we'll have these ponds. And again, I don't know if that's such a great idea. Anybody that's got any ponds on close to your dwelling, you know that you're inundated with mosquitoes next. I'm not really comfortable with the site for those reasons.
Go ahead, Dale.
My question is in relation to, I guess, just the layout in the courtyard. It's an enclosed courtyard, right? And I'm just looking at maintenance, like how's the maintenance guy's gonna get his equipment in there, his lawnmower, his weed eater, and so he'll have to walk through the building with his equipment, that's all. I'm just looking at the practicality of, you want it to be a beautiful place for them to go out and sit, but the guy can't get his lawnmower in there without going through the building, then how is he gonna look after the courtyard with the grass and everything else and the weeds, so I was just looking at the layout there and thinking, how's he gonna cut grass in there?
Go ahead, Deborah, to wrap it up.
So I want to thank everybody for your comments. We will take it back to our building team and discuss, I guess, our next steps moving forward. Thank you.
I think also too, I asked Deborah to ask fire for their input, Amos, to make sure that they have, requirement, but I think also just those ideas or suggestions that Amos said too. Danielle, you came in. Yep. So did you just grab the mic, and then we'll move on to our next delegation. Sorry, we're late.
I just wanted to say, so my mother's wing was the one that caught on fire a couple weeks ago. So with the figure 8 layout, I think that I personally think, like with my mom having dementia, I think that it would be very difficult to round up everybody in that aspect. I agree with Dale with trying to keep the courtyard clean and nice and neat, but I also love one thing at Delhi is that I can take my mom outside in the back and there's no way that she's going to escape isn't the right word, but wander, right? And Dr. East always said, you're never a wanderer until you are. That's one thing I've learned from my mother's Alzheimer's. I wrote on Facebook, but I don't think that there's anything within Ashwegan that we're going to have good air quality. We have to fix that. That has to be something that the council has to fix because we have the grow up on this side, we have grow ups on that side, we have the GRE on this side, we have the lagoons. And then I did hear, just through conversation with other families, like what about across the river? Then we got to worry about water and them wandering and all of that. So it's all about the safety of them, or us if we're there going to be there one time. I just think that that's really important. When I'm looking for my mom now, she's in one location. I really think it's important for her to be able to go outside or for someone to take her outside. But it also is important that someone can see her while she's there because now my mom chokes. So she shouldn't be limited to not going outside, but without having visual. So I don't know if there's a way to have like the nurses station all the way around the windows so that you can see everybody and all the rooms are on the exterior walls. That way every room has access to a window and sunlight. Those are just things that I think, and I think that even though Delhi is really far away, and it's not new, I really do like how they have the backyard, they have the little walkway. Um, and the only other question I did have for the interior was, is the figure 8, has it been measured like in as far as meters? So when you're doing physiotherapy, do they know that it's just kind of like a track, that kind of thing?
Jeffrey, can you answer that?
Yeah, I can answer that. So I don't have the exact length of the those hallways off the top of my head, but I mean that's certainly something that we can provide. The corridor lengths again are actually a little bit less than you might see in some other homes as well. So I think that that's a benefit. But certainly we can provide kind of what those travel distances are. As Maya mentioned, we are meeting the travel distances of the design guidelines in the Ontario Building Code.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Everyone, thank you. I do know when we were looking at the designs, and I realized not both designs were seen by everyone, that the other design, when they were looking at the corridors and when they chose the courtyard option, that with the other design, the corridors were quite significantly longer than the courtyard option. Something that may not have been highlighted, and I know there was discussions with the team on other sitting areas where you see in some of the loops on the diagrams, those are common spaces and common areas that weren't identified when looking at the picture, such as like TV rooms or sitting areas for the residents. So they're not just continuous, there's actually spaces in between and touch point areas where they can rest and sit and enjoy some extracurricular activities in those spaces in between some of the loops and down the corridors.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Danielle, and then we're going to wrap it up.
I know that this was a conversation to have, but um, having a room through hospice, so like we've gone through that with our family. So even though it was COVID time, we were limited to what we could do, but there was a room that they were able to move us into during those last few hours and days. And I'm just wondering, like, if the hospice isn't done by that time, is there potential, instead of having it 64 rooms, to have it 65 so that one of those rooms could be always set for a family to go through when during that end of life care?
Go ahead, Deborah.
So the hospice is actually due to start in April of this year. So that will definitely be done before the lodge will be. We have factored in having a room dedicated in the new build for palliative care. It doesn't mean it's an extra room because we're capped at 64, but we do recognize there will be situations where people will not want to go to the hospice and remain there. So that's been factored in.
Okay, Amos.
Just to the designers, full disclosure, I work at the Daniel School of Architecture, and I had some students. They were looking at the seniors buildings, and um, what 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 one design that caught the reviewers, which were another set of architects reviewing the students' productions, was one of the students had a common room so that some of these seniors could have physical activity, exercising, dancing, because I think we think a lot of people aren't independent, but they just want that coverage, right? So I was wondering was that considered as a common room for seniors to have, square dance or whatever, because they like to move too. They like music. So I was just wondering whether that was incorporated into this design, because that's one part I don't like about that when we institutionalize people, we kind of put them in these cubby holes, and they don't have space to do recreation. That's what I'm concerned about as well. Because I think a lot of our seniors are independent, right?
Go ahead, Deborah.
So that's part of the common room design, Amos, is where you do have the space to be able to do things like that. And as it is right now, I know at our old lodge, they used to bring in different types of entertainment for the residents into it would have been their dining room. So aside from a dining room, there will be common areas where activities like that can happen.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. And oh, okay, go ahead, Elena and Helen. Go ahead, Elena.
So I just wanted to say to members of the community, um, it's it's my personal view, just based on what I've seen, that this is not an ideal site for this to be built and for us to visit our people and for one day us to be there if that's where we go. And from the slide deck, 200,000 square feet equates to roughly 4.5 acres, 4.6 acres. So if anybody in the community is looking to sell their land, or they think they have the perfect spot for something like this, please reach out and let someone know.
Go ahead, Helen.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what's the next steps? Like, what is the next steps from here? Is this a done deal, or do we have to go back and go back to the drawing board, or like, what is the next steps?
Go ahead, Deborah.
So based on the feedback tonight, it's going to go back to our building committee. So basically what we're going to do is relook at both designs now. I think there needs to be more engagement with the POAs. It sounds like POAs were not able to attend, and I'm not sure how the outreach happened, but we will go back and look at that. The other thing I just want to say is with a new location will mean the need to do all of the environmental assessments again, which will, yeah, so so we'll have to redo all of that if it's decided that this is not the place that we want the lodge to be.
Yep. Did you want? Yep. Go ahead. She'll get you number 2. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Shane. My mom's been there for almost a couple of years almost now, but as far as the design, I don't really care for it personally. I mean, we weren't engaged as far as the POAs, and then when there's a meeting supposed to be, it's going to be like a Thursday at 1 o'clock or something. Like, people work. I mean, you got to make it more like a Saturday so we can get engaged with the community more and the families, because during the week doesn't work. And there needs to be more engagement as far as dealing with how the community works in the lodge. I mean, when you first moved into Delhi, a new place, I went to go see my mom, went to pick her up, and then got out in the parking lot, and then they're all in the corner in the shade playing old country songs. They have their own community within our community, and then nobody seems to understand that and how they engage with each other. That they create their own community. So we need to keep that in the design. And I don't see that in the design. It's got some aspects to it. And there's talks about how to make this type of building feasible while you can engage sustainable design in your buildings too. It won't cost a lot to cool, cost a lot to heat. There's all those principles that could be involved in that too as well. But have you guys secured funding for this, or is this, I mean, from what I understand, this has been promised for 20 years now to build a new lodge. And I don't know when you guys are bringing them closer to us. So, but if you could, going forward, have more consultation with the community and the families at a convenient time so we can engage with the design. Because this is the first me hearing about it or seeing this design. I've never seen the first one, so that would help a lot, just to know that community that's in the community, which is our elders. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
So thank you for your comments. Yes, to my understanding, this has been planned for quite a few years. Um, for those of us that are new to the organization, I'm not sure how far back that planning went. I do recall in a previous role, having worked here, I was part of a focus group back a few years. It's been a few years ago. So I think, your comments are heard. I need to go back to discuss with the department how we are engaging with POAs to make sure that that outreach happens, that's more conducive to the POAs being available. So we will definitely look at that. And like I said, this will go back to our building committee to reconvene to look at next steps and also the way that we're going to engage with POAs moving forward. Yeah, so in regards to the funding, so we are working with the Ministry of Health, so there is funding for new builds of long-term care. All of the work that you see being done will help us determine the cost for a build like this. They will fund a certain percentage of that, up to 83%, 85%. And then over and above that, council has committed to supporting with the rest of that. So it's a matter of getting through these steps on the design, the location, things like that, the assessments that need to be done. But again, we'll have to go back and reconvene to look at next steps going from here.
Okay, go ahead, Dale.
Yeah. I'll move on accepting as information with a comment after we get a second.
Okay, moved by Dale, second by Cynthia. Comment? Go ahead, Dale.
I mean, I know Debbie had mentioned it's going to start in the spring, in April, so we got a lot of work to do in the next couple of months. So I'm looking forward to any feedback and information coming back to council as soon as possible.
Are you talking about hospice or what are you talking about?
Oh, maybe I misheard it. And yeah, all right, sorry, but I'm looking forward for any feedback that's got to come back ASE to council.
Okay, it's been comment. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Yeah, that hospice, that seems like a good spot. Is there room? I mean, I don't want to get the conversation going further. I'm seconding it, but I just question if there's not room back there because they have to put in the infrastructure, whatever, for that as well. But sorry, I won't delay anymore.
So we can look at that. Yep. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, carried. Okay, thank you for your presentation and thank you for joining us tonight. Okay, we
Thank you
have
very much.
council, we have delegation 2, Quentin Strode, owner of Summit Aerial Drone Services. Sorry for the delay, but you can see how the importance of this because it's our elders. Yes.
Definitely. My father 2 years ago had a aneurysm, so I completely understand. He's still recovering, so completely understand.
So yeah, if you want to just introduce yourself and the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Just a second here. So I've just got a couple of different things here just to read out. My name is Quentin Stroud. I am the owner and operator of Summit Aerial Drone Services. I am in collaboration with Blaine Albin of Grand River Dinner Cruises, and I will try to be as brief as I possibly can. I have a little bit of a statement, a presentation, and then a video example of some of the work that I have done in the past, if you would like to see. I am submitting for the purpose of gaining permission to film and publish content about Six Nations history and culture in part of a mini documentary about the Grand River and the various cultures that exist along her banks. A Grand Adventure is the title of this documentary, and it began production in summer of 2025 and will continue until December of this year, where a finished and distribution-ready mini documentary will be ready by December. This project began as a joint effort between my company as well as Grand River Dinner Cruises and Blaine Albin, the goal of which was to produce this film to showcase again the rich history of the Grand River. Without Six Nations would not necessarily be the full story. So far, we have signed contracts with Haldimand County, Brant County, and additional agreements with the Fergus Scottish Festival, Ruthven National Historic Site, and the Caledonia BIA. A further tentative agreement is underway with Regional Tourism Office 3, RTO 3, for additional funding. However, we are still in the process of organizing that. I'm seeking the permission to capture interviews and B-roll of various individuals, specifically those at Six Nations Tourism, Turo on the Grand, and the Grand River Powwow. These are events in additionally, the HM Mohawk Chapel, as it is basically the starting point of Brantford, built in 1785. These events and locations are draws to the community and provide a historical backbone to the history of the Grand River. As a disclaimer, I have been an employee of Six Nations Tourism for 4 years under the management of Jackie Jameson, and I'm not requesting any monetary compensation for this request, merely permission. Blaine Albin and the executive producer and I have agreed that all content captured, be that B-roll, photography, aerial footage, as well as interviews, would be provided to the Six Nations Council Communications Department, as well as any other departments suited to accept this footage for marketing and tourism purposes. For other clarification, Summit Aerial Drone Services is a licensed and insured drone business registered in Ontario. We have 6.25 million in liability for all drone services, as well as 2 million in general liability for any video production services. At this time, I have a slideshow, how would be best to display. I don't have I have a plug-in, yes, but not a cord. Oh, yes, there is. Perfect. Okay. Here we are. There might be, is it a function thing? Technical difficulty is always fun. I'm no stranger to it. Yes, it is on here. Okay. So it'll be under Grand Adventure Docs, and it'll be the PDF document. Wonderful. So you can go down to the executive summary, as the majority of it I have already mentioned. So yes, this proposed mini documentary is going to be a length of 15 to 25 minutes. For the majority of some of these proposals, that is a bit of a wide range, 15 to 25. However, due to the amount of content and the importance of that content, we wanted to give quite a bit of a range. And again, this is all about historical landmarks and sort of landscapes along the Grand River. This has been conducted using what we call a stakeholder split in this participation model. So we understand that video production is expensive. And so we have partnered with multiple different municipalities in order to make this come to life. Part of the footage that Six Nations Tourism would receive is all of the community coverage deliverables up at the top right there. So that would include 10 aerial clips, 24 megapixel photos, aerial photos, as well as a community cut of the documentary, which would be the Six Nations portion specifically, as well as the full cut of the documentary. In addition to this, as I've previously mentioned, all of that footage would be coming to you guys as a specific partner on this project. Again, I am licensed, so you can go to, I keep forgetting that I'm not connected to the thing, sorry. So I am licensed by Transport Canada. I have been a drone pilot for over 5 years now. No crashes. I have no wood to knock on yet, so hope for the best. So that allows me to fly advanced operations in controlled airspace. Again, $5 million in liability insurance for remote piloted aerial system operations. College diploma in communications, and I have had dozens of client successes over the 5 years in business that I have been active. And again, that $2 million of general liability insurance. Go to the next slide there. This is a breakdown of the figures of which stakeholder has paid which percentage. So as of right now, Grand River Dinner Cruises makes up the majority of the funding for this project, with the 40%, that being $5,000. Haldeman County has submitted $2,600, Brantford Tourism 13, and Ruthven will be funding just 5%, as they are a smaller organization, to a point of $650. I am still in the process of doing some outreach with other organizations. Like I said, RTO 3, we have a tentative agreement with them. I still have to have a meeting. So that was sort of the stakeholder split that we have. The total cost of this production was $13,000. Of that, $9,550 has been paid currently, with a remainder of $3,450. As of right now as well, a partial component of the deliverables that were going to be given to all of the partners that had signed on were some social media shout-outs on the Grand River Grand Adventure Instagram page. You can go down to the timeline. So the timeline of events here, this began in March of 2025. Blaine had come to me and asked to do some video footage for him. We had a meeting. I gave him 2 different proposals, and he picked this one. We had agreed that there were multiple organizations and municipalities that would be interested in such of a product, just to create a more, just to create tourism interest along the Grand River. So January in 2026, we are aiming to work with more stakeholders to schedule shoots. I have been in contact with a few very interesting individuals over the course of this project, and it has been quite an interesting endeavor, to say the least. April, we are going to begin production, and that'll be production phase 1. So that will be all scheduled shoots and required B-roll that we have. I've currently got some agreements to film some Scottish Jacobite reenactors and film a cannon, so I'm quite excited about that one. In August of 2026, that will be phase 2. This will be where we begin the final cut of the documentary and learn where any holes are and where we can find content to fill that. From October until December, that will be complete post-production, which in that case we will have deliverables packages ready for all of the municipalities, and as well submissions for revision. So the communications department, as well as chief and council, would be able to see an early draft and revise anything if required. December of 2026, still tentative as well. Haldeman County did express their interest in hosting a premier event to showcase the final finished product. In addition to that, at the end of that premiere event, that is when people would get access to the finished copy of the mini documentary. Beyond that, I just wanted to also point out this declaration of conflict of interest, if you go down to the final slide there. I have been the marketing coordinator for Six Nations Tourism for 4 years. As this is organized to include Six Nations Tourism, additional income would fall under the grounds of conflict of interest. I am not accepting or requesting any monetary compensation for this, or I will receive no otherwise benefit from my work on this project relating to the Six Nations Tourism part of the Grand Adventure mini documentary. All assets filmed for the Grand Adventure will be recorded during off-work hours and will be treated as if I am an independent contractor. So that is the end of that slide. In the interest of saving time, I have 2 example videos. One is the Turo on the Grand. The other one is a submission from Six Nations Tourism, which won us the 2025 Indigenous Tourism Award. It is up to you which one you would like to see. Turo on the Grand? Okay. It should be on the, yeah, in Grand Adventure Docs. It will be the one not labeled Tayo. Yes, there you go.
It will continue, it will grow, and it will be everything it's supposed to be.
Gremlins, always fun.
It's history in the making. The point of it is to create a community.
I would like to leave a legacy of connection.
It's a relationship.
It will continue, it will grow, and it will be everything that it's supposed to be.
I'm Allie Joseph, Six Nations band member. I'm Mohawk. I'm of the Turtle Clan. I am one of the 4 co-founders of Turo on the Grand. I was on a very historical Turo renewal campaign in 2013 on the Hudson, and it was such an overwhelmingly powerful spiritual growth journey.
Well, 200 paddlers are cruising down the Hudson River to New York City to bring the Turo wampum image to life.
People have lost the history. People don't know about this treaty, but as we're teaching people about it, they're very excited to learn about it, and they recognize the promise of working together with our Native brothers and sisters to create a more just, peaceful, and sustainable world for all of our future generations.
Ellie invited me to take part in the 2013 Turo Wampum Renewal Campaign paddle down the Hudson River from Albany to Manhattan. That had a profound effect on so many of the participants. At cultural teachings at each stop along the way, we felt that it was important to bring that experience and those teachings to people along the Grand River. That first two-row on the Grand in 2016 was supposed to be the one and only. It took us 3 years to scout the river. Impact it had on people, and it was life-changing. We turned to each other and we were both thinking, how can we not do this again?
I started the two-row in 2018. I heard about it the year before, and I really didn't feel like I was ready at that time. Did some more of my own work between 2017 and 18, and then joined in 2018. And I joined because I love paddling. My very first memory was meeting someone, and she was the first person that I met. I was nervous. I hadn't really done much paddling before, and she welcomed me and made me feel like this was going to be just fine. I've met her many times since then, and it's always a big hug and a warm welcome. When I step into my kayak on the Grand, I feel a sense of being at home has been developed because of the time that I've spent on the river. So it's a relationship now.
I listen to the BBC and listening to what's going on in the Middle East and listening to what's going on in the States, and it's like, it's this otherness thing that's killing us. And the two-row has helped me see that.
The bridge is there, the divide disappears, and you're connected.
It's community, unity. It's bringing people from all these different walks of life together so that they can work together to complete one giant task.
So if anyone has any questions?
Questions or comments? Go ahead, Elena, and then Dale.
I had to step out just at the beginning of your presentation, so I apologize for that. So this, after it's done, this mini documentary will be owned by Grand River Dinner Cruises.
The fundamental copyright will be owned by Grand River Dinner Cruises. However, there will be copies of it distributed to the partners who have, essentially, you have the right to display and promote it. You just don't have the right to sell it. That's the only stipulation that we put in the contract that we signed.
Okay. And it's for their, obviously, marketing purposes.
Yes, it was fundamentally a marketing initiative to showcase to people when they go to Grand River Dinner Cruises for their opening show.
So the copy that we receive, it's obviously geared toward that, but it would have all of their marketing and branding. Would we be able to get a cleaner version of that?
The documentary itself isn't going to be sort of covered in any Grand River Dinner Cruises marketing. It will feature Grand River Dinner Cruises. However, it is not necessarily a promotional piece for them specifically. Blaine specifically wanted me to create something that was very much about the Grand River, and he is aware that Grand River Dinner Cruises is only one small piece of that.
You would know this, that there was a 6-series dinner cruise, and it was in partnership with tourism in 2025. Do you know if that's going to continue?
Yes, we are planning it as of right now. with various different speakers from the community.
And do you know what our participation was in that as a community, as the tourism department?
Could you clarify, like in terms of?
Well, we were partners in it, so what was our participation? What did we do?
Oh, right, okay. So we had partnered with Aisha Smith, Belgaba, for one of them, and she provided an Indigenous catered meal for all of the people that were on the cruise. Additionally, tourism has provided dollars for speakers to come out, including Rick Montour, Josh Sherry, Aisha Smith, and various other speakers that I can't name off the top of my head right now.
Okay, and what was the benefit to our community?
The benefit was essentially to drive more people into the community and get more people interested in Indigenous tourism specifically.
Okay, and have you seen that? I mean, this was just 2025, so it's that last season, but have you seen any uptick based on any of that?
I'm still sort of working through the data. However, we have seen a little bit of an uptick after each cruise on our Google Analytics, which we can't necessarily attribute specifically to each cruise, just based off of the way those work. But as far as testimonials from after people have gone on the cruise, everyone has seemed to enjoy it, like it, and say that they want to go and visit either Six Nations tourism or other areas within the community.
Thank you.
No worries.
Ed, Greg, then Dale.
Thank you, Quentin. Councillor Fraser here. I think we met a few times over at tourism. Because, you know, the Grand River Cruises, you know, we don't get anything monetarily from them. You know, they've been using the river. I live along the river and I see their boats go by quite frequently. Is there any type of monetary gain that we can, in terms of partnership with Grand River Cruises, if they're showing us in what we're all about? Is there a way that we could tap into that in terms of some type of monetary compensation?
I'll have to go back to Blaine on that one. As far as I'm aware, that's not been any part of the discussion that we have talked about. Mainly the material that we would be providing was considered to be what was given. As the other partners that we have been working with have only been getting a small portion of the deliverables, whereas the communications department or any other marketing departments would be receiving all of the raw footage as well.
And Dale.
One is, I know in your video you said each, well, you got, I heard you say agreement from the communities in the southern part towards the mouth or the mouth of the river. Do you have the same agreements as the ones up by the source, or is it mostly going to focus on the southern part of the Grand River?
The fundamental goal is to get as many people, like as many locations along the Grand as possible. One part that we have been searching for is upwards towards Laura. We have a contact from Fergus. I have filmed the Fergus Scottish Festival, as well as Oktoberfest in Waterloo I will be reaching out to. Up near the source, it's a little bit more difficult just because things are a little bit more spread out up in that area. I have got the contact for the mayor of Grey County, and we would like to reach out to them as well. Again, this process has been a little bit of a shorter time span to try and get everything going. So I'm going to be reaching out to the mayor of Grey County and just sort of see what we can accomplish further north. In addition, I have some contacts with the Mennonite community as I want to get some more stuff, again, further north of the river. It's meant to display the entirety of it from source to the mouth.
No, I know the Grand River, for lack of a better word, was Six Nations. And I know in your video, you're talking about having, 15, 20 seconds of acknowledgement of each community. And I know with the history that Phil has on Grand River, it's going to take like 3 or 4 days. I don't know how you can squeeze 3 or 4 days down into a few seconds in regards to the history of Six Nations on the Grand River, which is Six Nations?
Yes, believe me, as an editor, is a very big challenge, especially with the two-row video that you saw. All of the interviewees had just absolute gold, and sometimes it is a bit of a, they call it killing your darlings, is when you have to take out sections that you really, really love, but they don't necessarily contribute to the full aspect of the mini documentary. And I understand the history is important. So part of that process that I mentioned before was that there would be a degree of editorial control where drafts of this mini documentary would be submitted to the Communications Department of Six Nations Council to determine whether or not there were pieces that needed to be omitted or if there were pieces that needed to be included.
And Elena?
What is the tone of the narrative of the entire documentary proposed to be?
The tone is meant to be lighthearted. I've lived in Caledonia, so I've lived on the Grand River for the majority of my life. And it's remarkable to me how many people are doing great things along the Grand River. And that's just something that I wanted to showcase in collaboration with Blaine. It's meant to be lighthearted with a focus on generating more tourism along the Grand River in general. And to just sort of bring people, and like, I didn't know there's a lake on the Grand River, Elwood Lake. I had no idea that it existed. So I would like to inform and entertain. It's the best way that I can put it.
Go ahead, Dale.
In relation to Six Nations, what specifically are you looking at you're going to film and document in regards to a location to be able to promote tourism on Six Nations?
I have a treatment that includes some of the ideal locations that I would like to film in. They do tend to focus largely on areas of interest that public could attend, either by appointment or by just showing up. So that would be Chiefswood National Historic Site, tourism specifically, the newly built longhouse on the property near Guyonase. We would additionally be, we would like to interview Josh Sherry, who had a particular role in constructing that. And I've met him, he's a very, very passionate individual about the stuff that he does, and I know that he would be perfect on camera to elucidate all of that. Additionally, Barry Hill of the Mohawk Chapel has a very, very vast wealth of knowledge about the history of that area, and he would be a very good individual to have reporting on that. There may be other areas that sort of jump out at us, for example, say for the Fall Fair. I sit on the agricultural board to assist with their website, as well as the powwow, as that's a very big draw to the area.
Catalina?
Do you intend on, because an agreement or an approval from this table is not necessarily an agreement from all of these places that you plan to attend. So, for instance, powwow, you would probably have to go to their committee. Yep. And even in addition to that, at the event, there are, dancers and things, like you would need individual permission for filming and things like that. So do you plan to go to all of these other committees with kind of like this overall endorsement?
I would like to, yes. I have spoken with Jackie Jameson from Six Nations Tourism, and she has been in support of this for that specific portion. Additionally, I spoke with Josh, and he seemed to be on board, but I would go out to all of the other organizations and request permission for them, of course. There would be release forms that needed to be signed to make sure that everything is conducted accordingly.
Well, I guess for myself, it's too bad Blaine couldn't make it.
He sent
because this is part of collaboration with him. And I think, as you heard, the Grand River dinner cruises have been up and down the Grand River for decades. And I think it's been, yeah, fills his main show and those kinds of things. So I guess it's the part of, it's just too bad he couldn't come to have further discussion of, of this project. What's council's, it says here that Six Nations of the Grand River 59th elected council approve the filming and publishing request of A Grand Adventure, a mini documentary about the Grand River by Quentin Strode, owner of Summit Aerial Drone Services, in collaboration with Blaine Albin of Grand River Dinner Cruises, with the understand that a final review will be done by Six Nations of the Grand River Communications Department, and all content captured to be shared with Six Nations of the Grand River. Go ahead, Elena.
I'll move. I'll move it with some changes. I would move that we approve the filming, but not the publishing. I would say that approval would come after we see the product.
Okay.
So I would approve the filming, but also with the caveat that you attend the committees that you need to attend for the locations that you would like to film within the community, and ask for their permission for their event.
So it's been moved, and with those changes, is there a seconder? Second by Dale. Any other questions or comments? If not, with the changes that Natasha has changed them, all in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Elena, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Okay. Thank you for joining us tonight. Yes. Let's go to number 7, Chief's updates. So the Federal Indian Hospitals class action. From 1936 to 1981, the federal government operated federal Indian hospitals, such as the Lady Wellington Hospital, which was located here in the village of Schwiegen. In a class action case, Anne Celine Hardy versus the Attorney General of Canada, individuals sought compensation for abuses they experienced while admitted to federal Indian hospitals. The court has approved a settlement agreement to address these claims. Under the settlement, direct compensation for eligible class members ranges from $10,000 to $200,000 for psychological, verbal, physical, and or sexual abuse. To be eligible for compensation, you must have been a patient at one of the registered federal Indian hospitals, such as the Lady Wellington. The claims period for compensation starts today until July 2028. For more information, can be found on ihsettlement.ca, or also call Lori Martin at 519-445-2201. I had a meeting on January 14th. I met with June Davies, Six Nations of the Grand River Staples account manager, to explore ways that Staple can utilize to give back to Six Nations. Staples expressed an interest in showing gratitude to Six Nations of the Grand River for their continued business and commitment to take the ideas discussed back to the management for review and approval. Rural Ontario Municipal Association 2026. Myself, along with Councillor Cynthia Jameson and Councillor Greg Fraser, attended the 2026 Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference from January 18th to the 20th. Our primary purpose was to advocate for resources and supports for Six Nations. We were well received by all ministries, but there was an underlining theme throughout our meetings: the role of the federal government. Some ministers asked or said, "What are the feds doing? How much have you received from the feds? We want to help, but the feds must be at the table." Little bit about our meetings. In a short meeting with the Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response, Jill Dunlop, I communicated the need for a First Nations evacuation response plan and a process. Our delegation was able to share some of the challenges of the Manitoba wildfire evacuees and our experience in supporting them. Minister Dunlop agreed to follow-up meeting and asked that we think of potential solutions for a First Nations evacuation response plan. Our delegation outlined to the parliamentary assistant of the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services the operational and infrastructure requirements needed to deliver the Ontario Disability Support Program at Six Nations. Both parties agreed to continue the discussions with the appropriate regional contacts and deputy ministers. Our delegation joined the City of Brantford and met with the Minister Kuzendov Bashta of Long-Term Care. We provided an update on our collaborative work to relocate our seniors from Delhi to Brantford. We shared the need to spend money on leasehold improvements. The minister indicated they could help with these costs, and she also shared news about hiring incentives to attract nurses and personal support workers to the long-term care field. Our delegation highlighted for the Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Todd McCarthy, the nearly $2 billion infrastructure gap at Six Nations. We secured a commitment to discuss approaches to funding models that better reflect the needs of Six Nations. The minister told us about a new $700 million investment for critical water infrastructure, which First Nations can apply to. Our delegation outlined to the Minister of Sport, Neil Lumsden, the operating pressures and capital needs of Six Nations Parks and Recreation Department. The delegation also emphasized the important link between sport and education. The minister committed to working with us. Our delegation met with the Minister of Health and Deputy Premier, Sylvia Jones. The primary purpose of our meeting was to share the ongoing work with Indigenous Services Canada to reopen Gagnos, but more importantly, to highlight for the need for and secure support for expanding the footprint of Gagnos. Minister Jones committed to following up with ISK. I also participated in Chief's panel along with RAMA Chief Ted Williams, Chief Shelley Moore Frappier from Tamagami, Grand Chief Linda DeBoski of Anishinaabeg Nation, and Ontario Regional Chief Abram Benedict. I highlighted our traditional territory, the Haldeman Tract, and the duty to consult. I also talked about the meaningful engagement looks like and how First Nations and municipalities can work together for our collective benefit. I just want to mention, I just got this today also. I shared previously about the Grand River Conservation Authority and the initiative that they were going to start of annual passes to Indigenous individuals. So I have an update tonight. Grand River Conservation Authority is pleased to share, as part of their ongoing commitment to fostering respectful relationships with Indigenous communities, they are introducing a new initiative to offer annual passes to Indigenous individuals. To receive a pass, individuals may contact their head office by email, grca@grandriver.ca, or telephone number 519-621-2763 at extension 2220. These passes provide entry to Grand River Conservation Authority conservation areas during regular operating hours. This does not include additional costs of other amenities such as rentals or campsites. That's my update. So I'm going to ask Deborah Jonathan to give a quick update.
Thank you, Chief. The one thing that I would like to just highlight to the community, we've had some discussion tonight regarding the hospice. So we do have an inaugural Six Nations Community Hospice Love Beyond Measure Gala that's coming up on February the 14th. It's going to be at the Mont Hill Golf and Country Club, located at 4925 Highway 6. The tickets are $250 per person, or $2,000 per table, and that's a table of 10. You can purchase tickets via e-transfer, cash, or check. For more information, please contact Lee, who is our palliative volunteer coordinator, regarding our hospice funding, and Lee can be reached at 519-717-7343. Thank you.
Okay, with the updates, is there a mover to accept his information? Yep, moved by Carrie, seconder. Melba, go ahead, Carrie, your question.
Yeah, on your first report about Lady Wellington, is it supposed to be Wellington or Wellington? I think it was a D-O-N, wasn't it? Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Okay, let's move to number 8. Recommendation from Built Environment, Climate Adaptation, Lands and Membership Committee. So moved by Hazel Johnson, seconded by Carrie Bomberry, that the Built Environment, Climate Adaptation, Lands and Membership Committee recommends the following to General Council. Whereas the Six Nations Department of Public Works continues to operate in a budget deficit that does not meet the current operational needs of water infrastructure for the Six Nations community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Built Environment, Climate Adaptation, Lands and Membership Committee recommends that the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council request to meet with the Assistant Deputy Minister, Paula Hayden Jocko, within Indigenous Service Canada to advocate for increasing immediate support and resources for water infrastructure and wastewater management systems on Six Nations of the Grand River. So it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Go ahead, Cynthia.
Not so much a question, just a comment. In the briefing note, it listed various of the funding sources, one of which, of course, is our disgraceful band support funding. But with band support funding, one meeting I went to, I gave a report to council. I think it was the joint gathering. And the person I met with, he came into the presentation here, as a matter of fact, talked about the federal government had put out an RFP to have the whole cost of governance, First Nations governance, to look at that, because the formula for band support hasn't been changed in 40 years. And he thought it should be done soon, if not done already, because that was about 3 years ago. So I wonder, when you have the meeting, if this Assistant Deputy Minister can be questioned on that and press for, we want a response as well. When will that be forthcoming?
Yep, we can add that for sure. Anything else? So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Hazel, second by Carrie. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none. Carried. Yep, comment. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, when you have this meeting set up, Chief, I don't know if Linda's gonna set it up, or but let our committee know so that we can be a part of that, and any of the tech staff as well.
Yep. Number 9, recommendation from Lands and Resource, Wealth and Economy Committee. It was moved by Greg Fraser and seconded by Elena Van Avery that the Lands and Resource and Wealth and Economy Committee recommends that Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council approve the following. Whereas Metrolinx has requested confirmation that Guyana Say is a certified partner and Indigenous owned business for procurement purposes. Guyana Say is wholly owned and operated by Six Nations of the Grand River members, and whose actions and mandates align with stewardship and economic development goals of Six Nations of the Grand River. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lands and Resource, Wealth and Economy Committee recommends that Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council accept the status of Guyana State as an Indigenous-owned business and certified partner, and approval, assurance of, and have the Chief Six Nations, Sherry Lynn Hill, sign the verification letter to Metrolinx dated January 27th, 2026. Lauren, did you want to add anything to that? I see that you're online. Lauren Jones?
No need to add anything, I don't think, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Question? Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, with Guyana, say, aren't they part of GREDI? And GREDI's incorporated? Why wouldn't they be requesting a letter from GREDI instead of council?
Lauren?
So Guyana is a part of GREAT. The CAP team through Six Nations, the Grand River Elected Council, were the ones that made the relationship with Metrolinx. And so they basically just need something on behalf of council saying that they are a part of Six Nations as opposed to a part of GREAT, if that makes sense.
Go ahead, Dale.
No, I understand that community members maybe that work at GREDI or GREAT are part of the community, so I'm not sure we're tying in authorizing an entity from another entity to say that they exist. I mean, yeah, we know they're here, we recognize them, that they are here, that they are part of GREDI in regards to what they do for the community, but I'm just not sure how we're fitting into saying, I mean, if they're listening, we're telling you. But I'm just not sure how council would be authorizing the entity of another organization, that's all.
Lena or Greg, can you go ahead, Lena, answer?
So I don't know if Greg wants to take this. He's chair. Do you want to answer, Greg?
Because it's just an oversight. I think that Lands and Resources needed to do their environmental services, because the environmental services and restoration projects as part of Lauren Jones's work is run through Lands and Resources. I know that it was just a requirement. It was almost a just a requirement from Metrolinx to have someone be an Indigenous-owned business that they could put down as a procurement operator, so they could actually give business to Lauren and her group over there. I see the confusion. I kind of thought about that too, about GREDI and GREAT, but I thought it was more of a formality so that the Lands and Resources could do business with Metrolinx.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Elena.
my understanding is just that for their procurement policy, they're trying to do their due diligence to assure that who they are procuring, in this case, I would guess trees from, is actually an Indigenous business, what with all of the pretendian business going on outside. So that's my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Cynthia?
I wonder, would that satisfy Dale? You think if we just add it after it says Guyana is an Indigenous-owned business, and put comma that is by GREDI, because that's the incorporated name. That would, if anybody's confused.
Plus, they're located here on Six Nations. I mean, we all recognize that. I was just questioning the formality of it, that's all. But I didn't have an issue with it. It's just the formality in the process, that's all.
So just with adding that, if council's okay with adding that, and the mover and seconder is okay with that? All right.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Greg, second by Lena. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 10. From the community committee, the Six Nations of the Grand River 59th Elected Council approve and authorize Chief Sherry Lynn Hill to sign the letter regarding Emergency Management and Civil Protections Act to the Honorable Jill Dunlop, Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response, dated January 14th, 2026. Moved by Dale, second by Amos. Any questions, comments? Yep, go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, just a comment. This letter is actually in response from a letter that we received from them, and they're advising us that they changed their legislation and stuff, and that they want to work together. So I think the response letter is more to, you know, they're coming to us after the fact, but we're also introducing, I think, the fire chief, Mike Seth, and Kelvin Thomas as the contact in relation to ongoing communication in regards to emergency management. So that's the purpose of this, just a response letter to their letter.
Okay, thank you for that. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Amos, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 11, updates from committee meetings. Community committee meeting, date Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Go ahead, Dean.
Thanks, Chief. A lot of the things that we did discuss at the committee had already been at the general finance meeting, such as the updates to the fire stations and also the frontline pumpers. A couple of other updates that we did discuss in the open were I know that Jessica is going to be working with Jennifer as well to come forward about the rental fee budget currently being overspent. So that's going to come to council as well, just to see how much more we want to approve for various community organizations that are asking for the rental fee waived, and then council up in the budget for the increased demand for the spaces. So that's another thing that will be coming to council once them two have had time to discuss. Also at Parks and Recreation, a couple of things that are going to be updated. Some of it is the security systems are going to be updated. That will also be coming to council, as well as now the final quotes for the sound system and the blinds for the community hall for the new sound system, and just so we can have that available for our own meetings we want to host within there, but also to the community as well, because they really need to be updated. So that's also coming forth. If there's anything else, Dale, you would like to say, go right ahead. But if not, that's everything. Thank you.
I'm good, thank you. You did it all, Dean.
Okay, can I have a mover to accept Dean's update? Moved by Hazel, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Let's go to number 2, the Finance Committee. Meeting date was Friday, January 16th, 2026. Elena.
Thank you. Okay, so for communities' knowledge, the Finance Committee is fairly new. So I'm the chairperson, Dale is the co-chair, Cynthia and Amos belong to the Finance Committee. And most of what we have been doing the last couple meetings, we finalized our terms of reference. I believe those were just accepted. And we have been, and I mentioned this at the last update in a little bit more detail, but talking about the NFR grant agreements, and that is the new fiscal relationship with the government. Those are funding agreements. And right now we're in standard, what are the, comprehensive is what we have now. So our finance is looking at the benefits and drawbacks of potentially entering into these new fiscal relationship agreements. We've talked about them preliminarily at committee. We had a representative from ISK come in, and then going forward, we're going to get a little bit deeper into that research, speaking with communities that have already, and there's upwards of 200 of them in the country that have entered into these 10-year-long agreements. So looking at some of these communities and seeing what their experiences have been. Closer to home, we are looking at budgets and getting into budgeting. So we're not so far behind. We're hoping for March to see some budgets at the table, and really excited about that. And our next meeting is February 13th. We were the third Friday of the month. We're now moved up to the second Friday of the month. So don't forget, and I'll see you there.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, just to add, I know one of the things we want to look at too is updating and the finance policy. I know there's been some resolutions and motions that have been done, and sometimes they don't get to the policy. So we want to have a look at that. And the other thing we want to tie to it, with the policies is some other policies that are connected, all financially related, like capital projects. And as we've seen tonight, just in relation to the lodge, and we're looking at the design and build of the lodge, but we didn't look at the infrastructure system. So one of the things we want to look at is to make sure the big picture is included in everything, so that when things come to council, the bottom line is the bottom line, and we're not coming and adding on. So those are just some updates we want to do to the policies.
Oh, yep. Go ahead, Amos.
Yeah, my colleagues can correct me. I thought it was really beneficial that Jennifer was there because she was really supportive of us getting an accreditation, almost like an ISO accreditation for our financial picture here at Six Nations. So I thought that was a good conversation we had as well.
Have anything else, Lena? You all good?
No, that was, like Amos said, part of the conversation. Even if we don't follow through with signing any of those new fiscal relationship grants, the path to get there, and for I think all of us at the committee, leads to more accountability, financial accountability. So all of these milestones that need to be met over a period of about 2 years or 3 years that it would take to reach that status, we can do those and not sign those agreements, but we will be that much more fiscally accountable, and be able to be recognized in ways.
That's great. Can I have a mover to accept the report? Moved by Amos, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Okay, number 12, motion to adjourn.
I need a travel approval for February 23rd and 24th. The AFN is doing a review of their 10-year national housing strategy. And there's 2 sessions, one in Toronto, one in Hamilton, so I'll be going to the Toronto one. So, and I have other people living at my house, so I'm not worried.
So with that information, can you make sure that
Yeah,
Natasha has
it to, everything's, oh, by the way, too, everything's paid for. I only have to get there. So, and have supper.
Moved by Elena, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Waive second reading. Moved by Elena, second by Dale. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Okay, motion to adjourn. Number 12. Moved by Carrie, second by Amos. All in favor? Anybody opposed? See none, carried. Thank you for joining us tonight, and have a great night, everyone.